All right, hi everyone. You may have seen prior videos of my on my YouTube channel where I've been doing Age of Wonders 3 challenge series where I take on various difficult tasks with the vanilla version of the game, and having done a lot of that already, and I was looking for more variety, and so I decided to jump into some of the mods that are available for the Age of Wonders 3 community. I'm recording this in 2022, so the game has calmed down in terms of the user base, and there's not a ton of new mod stuff being developed at this point. The stuff that's been developed is kind of out there, and some of them are less supported. But I wanted to download a bunch of mods, and I selected a selection that I thought would work pretty well together without absolutely kind of destroying the game, and I was only mildly successful with that. But I want to record a video to expose y'all to some of the stuff that's out there that you may not be aware of. And so, as you can see here in my list, in the boot for the Age of Wonders 3 launcher, I can show you a few things. So, first thing I want to talk about is the Shadow Realm expansion. And so, for this, it's pretty neat. Additional layers. So you've got above ground and underground, and that gives you Shadow Realm. So it's a whole third layer that can be enabled. Shadow Elves are a whole new race. One new dwelling, which is the Living Archons. Some other new units, new sites, upgrades, new abilities, and then campaign if you do that. And it does require decodance. And it does require Shadow Realm RMG, so you can see here that I have the decodance and Shadow Realm RMG installed, and the links are here, and I'll include all these links in the video description. So this one is the first. So a whole new layer, new race, really cool. I did some pilot testing gameplay, and they can be really brutal opponents, so it's kind of cool. So that's Shadow Realm expansion. Over here, Empire Building mod is a popular one. Brings more depth to the Empire building. Alternative racial units that get into higher tiers as well. New buildings, more complex hero upgrade system. Additional combat spells. A lot of stuff. You have to triumphant here to make it worth it. Triumphant heroes. I don't know that I have that. So you have to be cognizant of this if you're installing multiple mods, like I was. But it added some cool stuff to it in terms of hero leveling and the Empire upgrading. Really interesting. And so that here is Empire Building. Clouds Be Gone is a simple one. It just removes when you scroll all the way out, I don't like the clouds that block our vision, so this just simply removes the clouds. I've had that installed for a long time, even when I was playing with the otherwise vanilla game. Highly recommend it. Same with movement orders first. It's just a nice quality of life thing, because ideally you're moving, you're clearing sites, you're gathering resources, and then selecting research and selecting production. It's just a much more sensible way for most people. So this is a lovely quality of life mod. This mentions the Insectoid race doesn't seem to have like its own standalone page anymore. It's not accessible in Steam Workshop, but it can be downloaded from this direct link, and it gives you instructions on where to put it, and then execute the launcher, unpack the mod, etc. And this was the direct link to it, and so that it creates a whole new race, the Insectoids. And I played after I installed all of these and I did a run through, it was Insectoid Warlord, and I haven't explored all the other classes with Insectoids, but they're a really interesting race. They're super delicate early on, but can have really they can have super interesting tanky units later. Real emphasis on underground because of limited vision above ground. Like low initial base stats, but if you put them in defense, they can like gain +5 defense, +6 defense, +5 resistance, that sort of thing. Just really kind of interesting twist and some evolution, evolving options too for some of the stuff, and queens that lay eggs and that end up distracting enemy AI. Just some really interesting stuff. So it's pretty cool. And then we've got hero development mod, and that it kind of forces you to more pick specializations. Now, of course, having hero development mod and empire building mod on at the same time, I think creates some conflicting upgrade path stuff with heroes, where you can have two sets of things leading to some of the same spells. So it created this amazing plethora of potential skill tree stuff in a host of new skills for a bunch of the hero classes, which was kind of interesting, but it was a little overwhelming to have both installed at the same time, and it's probably imbalanced, which is not necessarily a bad thing, provided that the enemy AI can use it effectively, which they may not be able to. So it's something I haven't played around with enough, but I'm sure most people would be like, don't have hero development mod and empire upgrade mod on at the same time. Yeah, and again, be sure to look at some of the other stuff about what compatibility it does or does not have. And I should say that I get occasional crashes with all of this stuff installed, but it wasn't too bad. It was only occasional crashes. Then this one is the Chivalrous Intentions. I think this was required to be installed for something else, perhaps. I can't recall. Or maybe that's not the case. But it was one of the recommended ones. A ton of new units was its selling point. And so that was the onus for me to add it to the list. So there is, if you install all this stuff and you look the different plethora of units you'll see at independent sites and in enemy armies, it's just an amazing variety. It really livens it up if you're getting old, if you're getting kind of used to the vanilla game. And then PBEM and single balance player mod is what the people who play Age of Wonders 3 online competitively still these days, play by email, it's PBEM. The folks who are still serious about playing this, the real experts at the game, all play with this balance mod, because it balances out stuff that Triumph did not fix in subsequent updates to the game. So a lot of the balances fix a lot of important things about like reigning and XP farming, mind consult strategies being reduced, some OP spells being adjusted, and just a lot of things. It contains some visual mods, the reskin, and the racial watchtowers, and it's for some people they just have this installed plus like the clouds be gone and the first more movement order first stuff, and then play with that. It is kind of nice to balance things out some more, but I thought I would throw that in just so I would feel less of a pressure to XP farm relentlessly like I would in the past, kind of remove some of the incentive to do that. So yeah, I wanted to record this video to kind of give folks a sense of some of the stuff that was there. I'm going to pause and then we're going to boot up a game that I played through with all this stuff and highlight some interesting battles from it. All right, we're back. So I already played through this series, and I loaded out my save from turn 1 to give you a sense of things. So it was Insectoid, Warlord. Start with the Theocrat. In terms of the impact of the mods, you can see this stuff is really expensive right off the bat, instead encouraging you to go into stuff that unlocks certain abilities. And you're supposed to take these, and that helps boost some of these stats. But like Paladin, Monk, so this Monk and Monk is because I think the Empire upgrade mod and the hero development mod have their own respective tech trees, and so they were both coexisting, and they happen to use the same word for it. I think Paladin was the same, and so I had to have both like support documents open to see what stuff led to what things, but it did allow for a lot of interesting combinations and some really OP hero creation that was a lot of fun, and just some changes in terms of starting with like a single go Spirit Blast in addition to Spirit Ray. Even like, let's see, if we drop this, you still have this. It doesn't even require, it's like an innate ability, which is kind of interesting. And then the Insectoids, of course. And check out like Heliodin's video where he's currently, as of this recording, playing through multiplayer on a heavy water map where he's playing as Insectoid, and he goes into a lot more depth on things. But give you a sense, this is a warlord build, some interesting kind of weapon with some interesting starting abilities tied to the weapon. And the Insectoids have a lot of interesting, unique things to them. I won't go into great detail, but you can see, again, Pounce, Sunbound, Dauntless, Robustness. So those are some familiar things. Pillager, Tactician, Warlord. So it opens up a lot of interesting possibilities. You can build them super tanky. I'll load up a later save. You can see how tanky this guy got. But here's an example where like super low stats, right? But tireless off the bat, and then some units have this Vanguard ability where if they're not being flanked, so 6 plus 8 for 14 defense, and then 10 resistance. That's much more legit, right? So as long as they're shielded and defended appropriately, you can get bonuses here too. You can get pretty high shield from stuff like that. Melee units, that's interesting against undead. Inflict daze, the potential to proc. Interesting. And then winged drones and like winged creatures generally are super essential if you're not below ground. They can fly and then land on the ground and heal when they land. Weak points to like take somebody out of defense, which was really interesting and helpful with site clearing early on. And these folks have +4 to surface sight, so you need to have one of these folks to be able to see reasonably above ground. It really makes a difference. I wonder if it will illustrate it. Yeah, it's like no range above ground. And larvae, they can evolve into any of these things. It's really hard to evolve them because they're super fragile. They basically can only take 1 hit, or sometimes 0 hits, depending on it. But just interesting gameplay style. So that's a little taste of what that looks like. And then let's look at the tech tree a little bit. So this is from having to do with the Shadow Realm expansion. But yeah, as does that Shadow Realm expansion. Let's pause here. All right, we zoomed ahead. This is turn 36 or something like that. I just cleared a Lost City, and you can see some of the new units on the display from all the different mods. I wish I could open it, but maybe we can. Maybe we'll be able to pull up the stats in the replay. I'm not sure if we're able to. So we know, yeah. Okay, so let's see. So the Nigara Suri, so these are tier 4 units. Petrifying Scream, Life Drain, Fear Strike. Really strong potential if you can own one yourself. This is because of the Shadow Realm stuff, but they're really super tank beastie stats on that T4. Oh, see, we're crashing. Okay. So that's a good example of how it can crash occasionally. And again, like I would say it crashes about once every 3 hours of play, which if you save along the way, is not tremendously bothersome. But I will boot it back up and then unpause again. All right. Well, before I load up a game, you can't see this on the screen right now, but when I do boot up Age of Wonders 3 with this combination of mods, it does have an error called assertion failed, F-string Q is empty, F-string Q, 0 message source from Age of Wonders launcher, Steam trunk creator, etc. So for those of you who may be tech savvy, that error may give hints about why we're seeing what we're seeing. One sec. All right, we're back in that battle. Hopefully it doesn't crash on me. This is a new unit, Naga Raja. I think this is a tier 3. Let's see, projectile reflection and regrowth. And that is about all that's interesting for them. Thank you for not crashing. This is that Insectoid Soldier. Up to 13 and 7 you require. I started with this unit. now up to elite, and so because you can see the upgrade path that they're gaining defense and resistance each time. So between the tireless, really lovely to produce these with lifesteal. They can really do some work. But remember this with this Vanguard +6/+5. Look at those stats. So 13 defense +6, 19 defense on top of 12 resistance. So super tanky units. Just really interesting play style that it affords. Not super high hit points, but just super high on defense. High elf rangers, like an upgrade. It's a tier 2 version, so like an upgraded version of a high elf archer, where the higher damage per hit here. Precise shooting, which is interesting. So if it procs, then if you're facing off against another ranged unit, it really decreases the strength of that other ranged unit, which is kind of cool. I'll show you how things are shaping up with my person here. I can't. I'll check out the heroes on the title screen. So let's just real quickly see how they perform here. You'll notice resurgence. So 1814. I'm splitting them. So already, is he on defense? I'm not sure. 217 is really high though. Oh yeah, and your the sorcerer unit can summon these like phantasmal images, which draw enemy fire, which is pretty amazing. All right, so let's see what his defense gets up to. All right, so let's see. So yeah, 28 and 24 on this guy when he has all of these spells on him. So Resurgence from Phoenix Warrior, I had cast Ironheart from the Theo, Strong-Will from the Ironheart, Touched by Faith from the Theo, Last Stand was cast by himself on it. Yeah, and then we'll talk about some of these things later. Yeah. So you'll see him absolutely tear through things. Going after the Phantasmal Image, it's great. They're great distractions. 1 damage. His attack, his melee attack, is also 1911, pretty respectable as well. Yeah, super heavy damage from those rangers. There's that petrifying scream from that tier 4 unit. Whoa. Oh yeah, and a life drain. Alright, so let's look at these characters more in depth. So you can see I threw this over. So this is a sorcerer, some phantasmal image, like every 3 turns. And so you can keep doing this if you have enough time. You can summon distractor units, which is a lot of fun. I was building into Illusionist. What's the Dazzled from? Oh yeah, that's a hero upgrade, so they can now inflict Dazzled, not just stun, which is pretty fun. That's from that. So let's see some of the stuff. So you can kind of see, some elemental protection. So I didn't go into Warlock or Mage, but I'm heading down into this Illusionist, because eventually you can like summon, this is kind of cool, eventually you can summon like multiple phantasmal images each turn as if it was like a Chaos Rift sort of thing, and for free without having to spell. It's an ability rather than magic, so that was pretty cool. If we're looking at the Theocrat, you saw some of that stuff in action going into the monk side of things. What new stuff is interesting? Yeah, so not too much interesting there. Then here on the Warlord, level 8, I think these all items are original items, nothing new from the mods. Yeah, I think all that is standard, but just really tanky. Building him really tanky. Yeah, we'll see more details later when I upload a later. So here's one of the fun things here is surface broodling. So if you look at this, it summons a bunch of like workers and larvae from a city. And so it'll summon like a stack of 6 units. So it's really easy to summon a bunch of crappy low tier like 5 and 5, 3 and 3. Yeah, so you can just like pop out a whole bunch of units. This is Hivemaker Queen. I have like city building turned off, so I couldn't use this unfortunately. My other Norse Sorcerer, who did I start to build into this? Yeah, I'll show it on the other one. Yeah, but a wide variety of things you can make. I'll show the full variety at the end. So like changing the stats that folks produced, a lot of like resource production buildings that are interesting. Some different stuff there. Yeah, so let's load into that later save. Okay, much later in the game, I've got a few fun battles to show you. I think I just autoed this one out of laziness, but you can see some tier 3 Makai tanky enemy units, Goblin Great Beetle, which is a new unit. They had an Insectoid opponent, Cosmic Devourer stuff. I'll kind of take a peek at some of these stats at a later time for some of the Insectoid units, kind of give an overview of some of them. There'll probably be a good separate video in and of itself as to like show a bunch of the things. Oh, the dragon variety is amazing in this game. So yeah, let me show you some of the dragons. So these shard dragons, this is because I built one in a Shadow of Darkness city. But Fire Breath Reinforce for the +4, really tanky, and this is at Elite, by the way, so they just get some stat boost, but super tanky with that. And look at this, 40% physical protection on top of that, so just like super tanky. So as soon as I saw these shard dragons, I was like, oh, that'd be amazing to have very mobile units with 40% physical protection on top of really strong defense. So really kind of phenomenal things. I was lucky I got like Summon Phoenix early in the game. I've been using that a lot. Blue dragons were also kind of fun, dealing shock damage. You can see the upgrade path there. Fearsome. The potential to inflict, when does that happen? Inflict stun at gold. So dragons with shock breath who potentially inflict stun is super cool. Insectoid Brute. These are like a warlord type unit. They come with regrowth, so you know, humble stats, but they have regrowth, and so if you can get their hit points up enough, regrowth can be doing a lot of work. And they do have this Vanguard ability, right? So 11 plus 6 is 17, 9 plus 5 is 14. So regrowth on these solid defensive stats is amazing, though they don't have tireless. So that is one thing keeping them from being completely OP. Insectoid Hive Lord, Energy Drain, Inflict Despair. It's really interesting, like there's casts, and when like certain high tier units die, really interesting things happen. on the battlefield, and they like give buffs to their surrounding weaker units and stuff like that. If you want to get like exploit despair and bloodthirsty as they level up here, you can see pretty high hit points and pretty strong defense and resistance for this higher tier unit, Hive Lord. They don't have that Vanguard ability, I don't think, so that's why these are their final stats. But this is, you know, it's super strong. Stone Giants, people are familiar with. Cosmic Devourer is like is a tier 4 unit that once you get enough Empire upgrade stuff, you can produce them. This is like the high-end unit, so you know, just tremendous hit point stuff. And this is an expert already, so they'd have another 16 on top of this. Inflict shocking, so they can phase, steal enchantment, swallow whole like the gluttons. Pretty strong upper stats, floating. Yeah, on death, nearby units will be stunned. It's just really interesting stuff. Yeah. Yep, so I think that's all there is to show there. You can see some of the variety units here. We'll just let this run through quick and see. Did the AI do this or did I play this? I'll be able to tell in a second. I'm just decimating them. I think AI played this. I don't remember playing this. Ooh, healing shower. Gift of Necron too. I just love those. The fact that those Firebirds, or the Phoenixes, have the resurgence. Yeah, that's enough of that. So that was a cool battle. Let me find the other cool battles here. Oh, I turned 77, by the way. Yeah, I'll pause until I find a good battle. Here's one. It has the Moleculus unit, Shadow. So these are the Shadow Elves, so High Elfstorm Priest, you'll see what they do. Living Archon Titan, Tigran Royal Chariot. So a lot more depth at the tier 2s and 3s especially. Tigran Seer with that Safeguard. Same there. Tigran Sphinx, you know and love. Arbiter, you know. So let's see how this looked. Oh yeah, it was City Defense. Right. So I'm super beefing up, summoning that spectral image here. Oh yeah, the breach loader. So let's show you a few things. Oh yeah, I'll talk about the heroes later. Human Cavalier. Looks like that. This breach loader is really cool. 32 damage, like a close range shotgun. Really strong single target damage and really beefy as a unit. See that, so just absolutely decimates at close range. I don't like them overall, having played around with that, but it's kind of, sometimes they really shine. I'll go over the heroes later. We talked about those. There's that Phantasmal Army thing, which I think I do use. I'm pretty sure. Oh yeah, so there's the Shadow Elfstorm Priest that can spawn lightning sprites and inflict stun. So they can, and these lightning sprites can go like super far. Inflict shocking status discharge. They can just go like over half the map. It's incredible how fast they go. So phasing, and these guys have these Tiger and Seer have this like psionic blade, and the Safeguard, if you remember that from, what's that specialization? The For Good one. But yeah, 100% protection, so you can just like plug a unit in a gap and keep them safe for 2 turns or save somebody. Really interesting. Oh, and this is from the School of Enchantment, and I guess they are support, so that's why they get this. This is not too hot in terms of stats, though. Shoot the Royal Charioteer. Damn. Champ 2. You did a good job keeping them alive. That's so many hit points. That makes sense because they're a tier 3. That's a huge hit points for a tier 3. Fear Strike. That's from a medal? Fear Strike at Elite. Wow. Okay. There's this Living Archon, kind of interesting. Similar to its undead counterpart. Fire protection inherent for them. The Maloculus. So interesting damage channel array. Dominate. Fearsome. Inflict spirit breaking. Total awareness. Yeah, so they exploit despair and dominate. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Alright. So I was going to let them come over the walls a little bit and let my Phoenix fall because it resurges. Oh yeah, my tanky boy in action. I was trying to have all of them focus on my tanky boy out here. Look at that. 38 and 20. Divine protection. 38 and 28. Yeah, they rightfully choose to ignore him because they're not going to do much damage to him. So if they can fly and go over the wall, they are choosing to do that. And he has lifesteal, but it does not work on those incorporeal units. But there you can see it working. So I just love that tireless lifesteal combination on melee heroes. It's just phenomenal. So this thing continues to go. So this is what it does. 2 phantasmal images every turn. Oh yeah, I'll have to show my other set of units. I'll have to find a battle where my other set of units were doing stuff so you can see those other units in action. Especially that sorcerer with all the damage channels. Star blades on him. Look at that. Getting distracted, but yeah, I can just go forever. Boop, boop, boop. Tireless because he's Warlord. Yeah, I think that's enough of that. Let me pause and find the next battle. Oh yeah, this one. It's pretty cool. So this was the Shadow Elves. I think we'll go in first. So I took their leader was defending capital. Oh yeah, we'll get to see these guys. Excellent. Oh shoot. Right. Okay. So it has trouble booting up this battle, so it'll do the zoom in, but it won't work. So I will try this when I was doing this battle, I had some trouble booting into it a few times. So you can see it kind of gets funky. I don't know if I've had that error happened before, even without these mods. It happens occasionally. But let me fix that and get back. All right, I was able to get in here after another try. So a few things. This, they didn't provide an icon for it, but it does. It has a tower built where it does spirit damage on top of the storm tower, which deals some shock damage and inflicts shocking. So you can have multiple towers or even tankier defense. In terms of some interesting units, so you can see these guys. They have the Vanguard, don't they? Don't they? Maybe not. Maybe not. Okay, so yeah, that's the Human Knight of the Wyvern Lance. Kind of interesting. It's a devastating charge. Immolation, crippling wounds. And they have the... Yeah. Oh, shoot. Now let me boot back up. All right. Loaded it back up. So let's go fast here. So I'm just approaching up the left hand. I decided instead of looking at the tooltip, pull-up tooltip for each unit within battle, I will just do that out of battle instead. Although for some of them you can't see unless we are in battle, so maybe I actually do need to show some stuff. So I'm just throwing my Firebirds out at folks, and I'm super tanking up my Dreadnought hero. So let's see here. So the Draconian Legionnaire has regrowth, so that's a lot of fun if you can get their hit points up through some champion levels. The regrowth is really useful. It's kind of interesting. Not as effective against mounted units. Some of the, you can see the Shadow Elf stuff. It's kind of interesting there. So you can pause and look at this if you want. Yeah, they're taking a proper advantage of some of the level ups that are available. So you can see the Shadow Elf Shaman. Umbral Weaver Charioteer, they do like a AOE effect here, there. 3 frontal enemy shadow burst thing, which is kind of interesting. You get a sense of their stats there. So a tier 3 unit. Yeah, Invoke Darkness, Shadow Burst, Flick Blinded, Shadow Artifact. What else is interesting? Storm Priest, these are the guys that spawn the sprites that we talked about. I think the rest of these units. Big Beetle, Storm Priest. Yeah, okay, so I'm souping up this guy. So this is really interesting. You can, like they have all these different avatars, which you can do one after the other, and eventually do like an explosive burst for every avatar you've applied to yourself. But I really like the avatar of water because it gives protection and like healing aura. It'll heal every turn, so you can just put units around it, like a tank up in front, and it'll help heal it up. Those are pretty low key. Is there anything of note here? Giant strength, plus 20. Regrowth is a combat spell. I think this is it's Warlord tier 4. So that's OP. I don't think they should have added that because that's pretty amazing. But you can see I'm beefing him up here. So let's just let this play. So it's just slow rolling it, letting my putting them up there, taking them off. You'll see what I do about the healing stuff. The tower does some serious damage. Just able to abuse the regrowth. There's that AOE thing from the chariot, from the Umbral Weaver chariots. Slow. Resurgence is nice. Very little damage because he's super tanky. Boom. Oh, no, does he have... I think he does have a lifesteal. Yeah, so you should be able to see the heal. You just... I don't know, were we able to? Guess not. Well, for reference, 112. So we'll see how much that aura heals at the end of next turn. Yeah, he does have the lifesteal. Although I guess taking some damage. Okay, a Water of Life, so you saw some of that there. About 9 heals worth. I think that's enough. So yeah, 22 and 12. Love those life drain swords. Yeah, enchanted armor is an ability that the sorcerers can give for free with an upgrade. Yeah, so there's a lot of cool stuff. A lot of cool stuff. Avatar fire and water. It's from an item. These are some of the cool abilities that come with Avatar of Water. Okay, 10% every round, so that's what it was. Okay. Going heavy into Warlock, so Lightning Cascade and Thunderstorms soon. And the medium is, I think, the specialization that gives the ability to do that, like Avatar stuff. Inflict stun. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's kind of a cool taste of things. So I will record a little bit more, and I'll go over kind of where all of my heroes finally left out at, and do some review of units and stuff. I'll probably splice this video and the next one together. But thanks for watching so far. Bye. Okay, picking back up and recording some more at the end of the game. So at this point, I forget what turn this is. I think it's in the 70s or 80s or something. But I did end up taking everybody out. Again, you can see how the surface looked. Underground was not used, though it's funny, I stepped on something that reveals portions of the map that cartographers didn't, I think. And it revealed some of the underground, but there are no AI on the underground. It's all independence and stuff like that, and then the Shadow Realm layer here. So what I'm going to do is I'll just show some highlights that demonstrate kind of where things ended on with a mod. So I don't know if I had talked about the Cosmic Devourer before, but this is what they look like with ending stats at elite rank. I think I did speak about them. You all know what Stone Giants are. What else? You think you saw Cavaliers before and the High Elf Archer. This guy was starting to build up towards the end. It's interesting. So these rogues, they have like a duelist tree where it's interesting. You can challenge someone to a duel, and then they're compelled to attack you, and you have a lot of buffs against them. It's pretty pretty interesting. So like this, a challenge target, I do a lot more damage against them. Whenever you kill the challenge target, you're healed and you receive a buff till the end of combat. So if you're serially challenging people and killing them, it's pretty good. Oh, that's from this. Yeah. And so yeah, I was trying to level up that side, but they also have this, and this, and I love the new abilities that are introduced with these new trees. It's really interesting. Housing speech. So that's this is where at level 15 my Insectoid leader ended up. So I love my life drain swords with Tireless, and he's Warlord, so Tireless automatically had a lot of protection. My defense was high, but my res was low, but that was okay because I had really strong resistances in those domains that really mattered. Blood Brothers, toughness, that sort of stuff. So you can see I went into Martial a bit, into Warrior a bit. There are two flavors of Warrior because the two mods have different skill trees. Both they chose the name of Warrior, so there's some overlap. Some interesting like Insectoid stuff here that I haven't dived into a whole lot, but kind of interesting. You can see some of this stuff here. Victory Rush. Melee Mastery, it's kind of cool. Defensive Formation, it's interesting. Warrior. Robustness, that's kind of a cool buff. Good bang for your buck too. So that's them. This was a Theocrat, so I was leveling into Divine Justicars. Super high resistance, +1, +1, +1. So a lot of resistance for him. The typical buffs, and they do lesser versus greater with the balance patch, which I think is a good idea. It was super hard to convert anybody. I had so much trouble converting. Oh yeah, and going into Paladin boosts the resistance each time, as does going into Monk, so that accounts for the super high resistance. I guess they renamed it from Divine Justicars to Divine Blessing. Anything else interesting here? I think that's it. And then this was Sorcerer, which I went into the Phantasmal Image. So this one you can pop out one every 3 turns. This is a Phantasmal Armory that pops out 2 every turn for 4 turns, so just a lot of distracting targets. And that was through the Illusionist tree that granted that. Spirit Breaking, I think I have stun on this guy as well. Yeah. And so, so you could have a bunch spawn and then go into Phantom and Explosion, and every single one of those spawns will explode. So if you can mass them around an enemy, it does a lot of damage. That would have been kind of cool to explore. That's just a different attack thing. You can teleport to a Phantasmal Image. +1, Chaos Rift as usual, Massive Lightning Bolt. This would have been cool, like a repeated lightning strike on a target every combat round. So this would have been cool. Starblade's Army. Yeah, some neat stuff. I had leveled up a few Phoenixes pretty high. This was, I think, when someone surrendered to me, they gave me a Sorcerer. So I haven't, wow. This might be kind of cool. So let's see. So we've explored Warlock. Folks have seen Medium and Illusionist. What about if we go into Mage Warlock? Fire and Lightning. Enchanted Armor. go into Mage a bunch and see what we see. Did I just choose Mage? Oh, it's because end of game, so I guess it's not letting me do stuff because it's end of game, right? This was a second Warlord that I got. Pretty decent defense. Pretty decent defense and resistance. There's the life drain. Pounce, defensive strike was inherent. Pounce from the claws. Shadow Elf is their background. I did some similar war. I was making them super tank, so a lot of warrior stuff. Robustness. Frost shield from this. Yep, so we're starting to build them. These new shard dragons with the 40% physical protection, so 40% on top of the 18 defense, and then reinforced for range attacks. So really enjoyed using them. What else is interesting? I started building some crystal dragons because I really like the strong elemental protections that they got and the ability to inflict dazzled, and that they have projectile resistance, so it would just be a real pain. So not super good for in melee. Let's see what they get. So yeah, additional. I love the array of damage channels. Like that head's like a brick with all those damage channels. So I thought that was pretty cool. Prismatic breath. Ooh, I wonder what that would look like. It's probably some damage and all damage channels in a cone, which would be amazing. This is their Manticore Rider for the Insectoid. It's not super impressive. They get the Vanguard thing on top of it. That's from a Hive upgrade, which is pretty awesome for an upgrade. Yeah, from this. So you can trade off some physical defense for some physical protection. And that's the Vanguard, +6, +5. Devastating charge, crippling wounds. Hit points, hit points, hit points, hit points. So just would gain a lot of hit points, and as long as they stay guarded, they're pretty strong, but not super impressive compared to other things. We've talked about the Cosmic Devourers, the Swallowhole. Let's look what we've got here. So we got these Insectoid Brutes are like a tier 3. They have the interesting stuff about them is the regrowth. So if you can get them up super high with upgrades, then they can be pretty tanky with that regrowth. And they have the Vanguard on top of this. So those are those. There's that. What else do we have to show? I think we looked at her in that last battle. So yeah, the avatars of fire and water. I didn't get to use this, but this was like a chain lightning sort of thing. That would have been kind of cool. Heavy into Warlock to get the Lightning Cascade and Thunderstorm. I think I have Thunderstorm on her too. Heavy resistance. Over on him, he's a tanky boy. Blood Rage for some tank. Yeah. I wonder the inject mana fuel. I wonder if that tooltip is around because that was kind of cool. Tireless Boots with the lifesteal. Awesome vision range on them. I think I talked about this guy before. So that is it for them. I think I talked about these all. Orc Siege Trooper, I don't know if you saw before. So inherent, tireless. So their defense gets a little bump. Their resistance is not great. But the tireless and the heavy defense plus this stuff makes them pretty tanky for a tier 3 unit, so it's just starting to level them up. I don't think I talked about this guy. This was an early, this is like, this is a Berserker, I think, from the Warlord tree. They're super fragile most of the time. This is kind of thing you could displace people. If you activate the ability, it would displace all units, including friendlies, and do some damage. I love the damage spread, but they were kind of soft. You've seen that. What else? But what was cool was the burrow down, where they'd gain like 60% physical resistance and then like 100% resistances to most damage channels. So they would burrow and enemies would still attack them but do minimum damage. So they basically could like soak up damage because people would attack them and they wouldn't retaliate, and it would allow you to be more strategic, and they can pop out and attack whenever you want. So there were some interesting battles where we were able to play around with that a little bit. Building some giants. Yeah, I think that is it for the rest of the troops. I don't even know if I ever showed who I went against. A Frosting Theocrat, Goblin Rogue, Tigran Sorcerer, Shadow Elf Archdruid, and Human Rogue. And I just converted, I migrated all my cities to Insectoid, basically, so that I could get the governance level up. So you can see some of this. So primal, because you can either like upgrade like your crappy low tier units, which I rarely like doing, or you could like your primal casket +1 melee. You can produce certain units. And the surface broodling spell I talked about earlier, that was kind of cool. 50% XP increases, which is nice. Seed infestation. I think I'll talk about that spell. So birthing, being able to produce a lord or produce devourers. So those were unlocked. So your high tier units were unlocked through race governance stuff. Different bonuses. Birth a lord or birth a brain bug. I don't know what the brain bug was. I didn't opt for that. Additional town defense. They already have a lot of pretty interesting town defense things they could do. So I'll show the towns in a second. What's this? Be the first to build a level 5 Formicary. Well, since I'm the only Insectoid, that's not hard. Quick learner for all new produced units from the city. That's kind of cool. I think all of these are otherwise the same. Yeah. Grudge. I don't think I had any other units I wanted to show off. Yeah, I had Embrace Darkness active on a few places. So I don't know that I had shown this. So you can see kind of the array of crappier units than Hive Lords. I think I might have talked about them. It's starting to get better. Cosmic Devourer there. Some of these are kind of interesting. And there's just so much in terms of things one can build. So if you want to pause and look at any of these more carefully, you're welcome to. But a lot of these buildings, there's so many buildings, but when you get a given city going with a lot of them, it can create some really powerful cities. So the Formicaries are kind of like the central spine of the upgrade path. And then there's a lot of tertiary stuff that can be built around it, which is kind of cool. item forge, so that's how they do the item forge, through that. And then over here, I had just gone to the Great Beast layer so I can do the Manicore Beetles. There's where the Morai Striker and the birds come, and Berserkoid, Killipede, and Skimmer. Well, I'll have to play with other classes on Insectoid to see how that other stuff looks. Yep. So I think that is all in terms of spell stuff. Talked about that. That's cool. It's hard to keep it up when you have a bunch of enemy allies, but the spreading blight is kind of neat. Yeah. So yeah, I hope this spin was interesting. If you're interested in like using mods to freshen up your experience with Age of Wonders 3, it's pretty cool. You know, I ran a bunch of them at once, led to a little instability, but a whole lot of variety. I think I'll probably disable a few and then play some more. So I think I'll probably do some more recording with some certain mods enabled, just to kind of show the world what some of the stuff looks like, because there's not a lot of YouTube content of the game with the mods enabled, especially some of the wider ones. So I'll look to enable those mods that I think will work well together and show some interesting stuff so that folks can check it out on YouTube and consider maybe downloading it for themselves. So thanks for watching. Check out my other videos on my channel if you've not already. I've done a lot of cool challenges, pushing Age of Wonders 3 to the limits. And see you in the next one.